bet you're thinking Sammy looks a little bit different. She's actually at a different appointment of ours. So I invited a good friend of mine and one of my very favorite partners. Her name is Diana Yescas, right? Am I getting that right?
Yescas, yeah.
I've always wanted to ask you that.
Like, how do you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Yescas.
And so she's here with me today. She's a real estate agent in Phoenix, Arizona. So definitely ask all of your real estate questions. If you guys are tuning in today from anywhere other than Arizona, I'd love to hear. And then if you're tuning in from Arizona, what specific municipality, like Mesa, Phoenix, Scottsdale? And then if you guys could also let us know like what stage you are in the process, right? That helps me know like what kind of information to give you. So pretty eventful day, huh? So
Yes.
I was just telling Diana that like end of the month is this crazy day. Like the last 3 days are just like you get the bulk of the pipeline closes because everything's like a 30-day close of escrow. And so a lot of the closings end up being at the end of the month. And it's this whirlwind of just like go, 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 fun, fun, fun. And so on these days, I'm just like, whew, what happened? So if I seem a little bit out of it, it's because I've been working my tail off all day.
Yes.
But yeah.
No, yeah, same page here. It is really, really busy right now, but it's exciting. It's always good news, you know, to have somebody there in the pipeline or somebody closing. So it's exciting but nerve-wracking at the same time.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. So it looks like we have a couple people in here. I'm gonna drag this because I can't read that far. But looks like we have people from Texas, Illinois. We have recurring Jose Negrete. Nice to see you guys. Jen, nice to see you. Okay, so a couple people may have some questions. Go ahead and start posting your questions now, guys. I'm going to give a quick market update on what we're seeing. So a couple things that you guys should know is that interest rates are about 1/8%, so that's 0.125%, lower than they were this time last year. And for all economic reports, we were actually expecting to see a decline in pending home sales this month, just based on the fact that demand has been steadily dropping every single month since December. So what that means, guys, is that yes, I think buyers, one, have fatigue in the marketplace, and two, affordability has hit some people where they're not able to buy in this market, or people don't have the cash to bid over asking or to pay those appraisal gaps. And so yes, we have definitely lost some buyers, but the numbers showed that we were actually up 8%, right? And they were expecting a 1% decline. So this is kind of big news. Other big news is that if you are waiting to lock in your interest rate right now, the biggest thing you want to pay attention to is inflation. Inflation is beyond important because if they decide that inflation is a permanent problem, something that we have to act on today, they are going to be tapering off the purchases of mortgage-backed securities. Right now, they're estimated at starting the tapering in September, November time period. But you want to pay attention to the news because as they talk about it, the market will react accordingly. So today there was news about tapering. We saw corrections in the bond market. The last several days have been very favorable, so interest rates are still fairly low, but it's just very important for you guys to pay attention to that. If you're in the midst of like a 30-day transaction, you know, you want to talk to your loan officer about when to lock in. You know, I'm telling people that it's okay to carefully float, but really like be in contact with your loan officer. All right, so aside from that, I thought I was going to maybe look at my notes, but then I didn't. So there's that. All right, so let's get to asking some of these questions. All right. So the first one is, I was supposed to close on 6/21. This is a new construction, and this is life in a budget. So pumped that you have a budget, by the way. But it got pushed to 7/13. I wanted to purchase my appliances on 7/4 and the sales in cash. Would that be a bad idea? So here's the thing. If you're going to purchase it in cash and they don't need to verify your funds to close, you're probably okay to do this. Do not finance any debt. Do not open up a new account. I don't care if they say if it's 0 interest. Anything that they get, because sometimes they give you bigger discounts to apply for the store credit. If you do it now, it will absolutely mess up something with your home loan, and you just want to prevent last minute issues. because if they have to rerun your credit, chances are your credit score has changed or you have updated debts. So do not mess with your credit at all, and make sure that the cash to close that you would the cash that you would be using to buy the appliances doesn't impact your cash to close. So okay, if you're using cash, still talk to your loan officer.
Yep, that's true.
So quick question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a client like borrow something or take out money that kind of messed up their closing?
I had a client ask if they could purchase a car. So they're like, "Can I purchase a car right now?" Like the new model came out. I'm like, "Don't touch it. Like don't do it because it's gonna affect their interest rate or whatnot." So yes, I've had that happen.
So it definitely could impact your interest rate, guys. It could impact your overall ability to qualify. Like it's crazy. And what's funny is that most of the time our real estate partners will hear about it before we do. So
Yeah.
totally
Tell
nuts.
us everything.
So Jose is asking, do I see interest rates going up over 4% in 2021? So it depends on the type of occupancy, right? So if you're buying something as an investment property or second home, I think that it could likely get up there. I think that interest rates for investment properties are already in the 4s and second homes are in the mid to high 3s. So I think that it's very possible for that. I don't think that if you're buying a primary residence and you have good credit that you'll see interest rates get that high, but in all fairness, like I am not a psychic. I really truthfully, like the whole inflation debate is beyond my pay grade. I know what to look for, but I also this is people's entire life careers trying to like figure this out. So I'm not going to pretend that I know anything more than they do. But if inflation is for sure a for real thing and they're really worried about our economy speeding up too fast or slowing down or being stagnant, I could see them, swiftly correcting interest rates. So there is that. Okay, so let's see. So House of Joss says, "Hey, Gilbert, any concerns about how quickly some of these areas are going down and towards a balanced market here in Gilbert?" Don't worry that you told me you're in Gilbert twice. I love it. So here's the thing. I assume that you have access to the Cromford report and that actually said that, hey, we might be in a balanced market come, May and June, in the next like 5 to 6 months. I honestly don't know what information they were going off of because I went to go look at it myself and I didn't see the same information that they're seeing. I still see inventory staying in the low like thousands. We're talking about less than 10, and a balanced market is somewhere close to 24,000. So I don't know, and I have to talk to Tina about that. I mean, in all fairness, I think that most of us in the industry, clients, we're exhausted from how difficult it is for buyers to get their offers accepted. So if we could move towards a balanced market, I feel like that would be awesome. Now, the only thing that we have to reference is back in 2005 when, we saw, housing inventory increase at a rapid pace. We're talking about 7,000 to over 40,000, right? It took 2 years to burn off the demand. So I honestly don't know how likely it is for everything to just stabilize within 5 to 6 months. But again, Tina is the person that like studies this nonstop for us. And so I trust what she says, but I'm not seeing the same data, and this is why I always tell people you have to buy when your budget says it's ready, because none of us can predict the market. If you're trying to time the market, you're like so mad at yourself because you should have bought 2 years ago, or you should have bought in 2012. That's a measure that is only like, we can only tell when we look back.
Yeah, so I mainly work on the east side, so I do deal with Gilbert clients, and I do see it be keeping it steady in terms of like number of offers and whatnot, multiple offers getting received by the sellers. So I haven't seen much change in Gilbert myself. So.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like other than like multiple bids still.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
But I will say this, guys. The demand decline has impacted my clients positively when it comes to getting their offers accepted. So one of the things that has been like super awesome is that instead of 60 offers to one house, I am seeing 5 offers to one house.
Right, right. And then a lot of people are going off to vacation, so that kind of gives us an advantage for those that are staying here. So I would advise don't go on vacation yet if you're looking for a home, because those who are going out, they're not submitting those offers, so therefore there's less offers on properties. So just a tip.
And guys, just stay with me for a second. Sorry, we had a delay in the questions, and so I have been trying to very discreetly try to update the computer and do this. So if you guys had lots of questions, I couldn't see them for a sec. Okay, so hey Chauncey from Florida, waiting on a new build to finish construction. So you and everyone else, hun, it's a big deal right now, guys. Lumber cost, purchase price cost, figuring out whether or not your house will appraise. These are all things that you want to pay attention to with new construction. Like the first person on here said, hey, my moving got pushed back. Just so you guys pay attention, those things can have an impact on the rates and fees, that you close your house with. Check your rate lock. Make sure that you're constantly in contact with your loan officer. And another thing to pay attention to with new build, guys, is that you want to maintain the integrity of your credit throughout the entire time that you are in your home loan process. So one thing that you guys maybe don't know is that your creditors actually monitor your credit. And so like collection companies, let's say, and I like literally, this is no joke, guys, collections from like Columbia House and Blockbuster, and these companies have been like out of business. Like I can't remember the last time I saw a CD. They are sending collection notices right now. So you will receive a collection notice typically within 30 to 60 days of having your credit run for a home purchase. Pay attention to those and make sure they are paid. And Chauncey, good luck on your home purchase, by the way. Okay, so JD says, hey from Phoenix, I can't find a home, trying to be patient. Any advice on how to make my offer more appealing? This is why Diana's here. So if you follow her, by the way, she's Diana House Huntress. She is like such a pro at getting houses or offers accepted in this market. So tell us how you're doing it.
So it all really depends, right? I would love to sit down with you, obviously, to kind of narrow down, what is it that it's not getting your offer accepted? If you want to hear a couple of tips, I can give them to you right now. So like one of them being, your realtor has to really, really have a great communication with the listing agent. Having that communication, knowing what's going on, what the sellers are looking for is really, really key. And a lot of people think, if I go 50 over, will that make my offer more attractive? Will I get it accepted that way? Yes, but sometimes it's not even a matter of like your offer price. It's more about the terms. So again, speaking with that other realtor on the other side of the table is important to know what the sellers are looking for. That way you can determine the terms, if they're looking for a lease back, if they're actually wanting to close in 45 days, not 30 days. Things like that is important to know. So I would really, really advise you to know more about the sellers so your terms are more attractive. But I would love to sit down with you and chat more about it.
Totally. So thank you for being so generous with your time. So one of the other things that we got, so last week I had the benefit of interviewing a top real estate agent in Houston. And what she said is honestly working with a real estate agent that has really great communication, that knows how to figure out if it's time, money, or stress that's really motivating the seller to sell. Like some people want highest dollar, other people want to just guarantee that it will close, and other people need it to close fast because they have something going on, right? And so being able to identify those things are really crucial. Things that also will separate you guys, like write a personal letter that explains what you liked about that specific property, and then be willing to share financial information that you wouldn't otherwise, like proof of funds, like showing a bank statement that shows, hey, you can actually pay your down payment funds and the appraisal gap and whatever the bid over asking is. That is super, super important because everybody in this marketplace is like bidding, and they're bidding quickly. Sometimes it's sight unseen, and very few people are willing to do those small extra things to show that you're way more serious and that you're willing to put your money where your mouth is. And she said that as a listing agent, those are the things she's looking for. All right, so let's get back to some of these questions. Hey, Darren. Hey, guy. You're like one of my favorite people to see on here, by the way. Alrighty, so let's see here. Ricardo Cruz. I'm a full-time 1099 employee making $48,000 a year, and my wife is a W-2 employee making $30,000 a year. What is the best way to get approved for a mortgage? Well, honestly, guys, if you're a 1099 worker, the biggest thing that we're going to care about is that you have at least 1 year worth of tax returns showing all of your expenses and showing what your net income is. Because technically, as a 1099 employee, you're self-employed, even though you might be self-contracted from one place. And then we're going to want to see at least a 2-year history in the same line of work, earning similar earnings, right? So that's something that we're going to be checking for you. Additional things are we're going to want a profit and loss statement from, year to date, last 3 months worth of business bank statements to show consistency with your down payments, with your monthly earnings. And then it'll just be regular sailing for your wife. So 30 days of paycheck stubs, last year's W-2s, 2 months bank statements. So it is fairly easy for you guys to get qualified, but some additional hurdles because you are self-employed. All right. So then Alberto says, would it make sense to take out a home equity line to buy an investment property to have a lower interest rate? Any downsides on doing this? Well, you wouldn't actually have a lower interest rate. So typically investment lines of credit or lines of credit in general are prime plus, right? So you're looking at somewhere between the low 4% if you're buying a primary residence. And then on an investment property, you're looking upwards of 6. And you can probably get an investment loan, like a 30-year fixed amortization, somewhere in the 4%. So I definitely think that you should apply for a regular mortgage. Now, if you're needing to make your offer more, appealing, you can do a line of credit from the home equity of your house and then just buy cash and then do what's called delayed financing later. So you can definitely look into that. But it will cost you more in interest and more in fees in the short run. Alrighty.
Looks like Jose Negrete.
Yep. So Jose says, Arizona community property state when married, does it matter if both husband and wife are on title? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually, it won't prevent you from qualifying if you decide not to have somebody on title. However, because it is a community property state, they have to either disclaim off of the property or they have to be added to title, right? So you can't just buy a property and not let them know. And also, fun fact, and you didn't ask me this, but you should know, any type of government financing, FHA and VA, requires that we pull the non-purchasing spouse's credit and qualify you with those debts, right? So oftentimes what happens are people that are maybe separating or about to separate decide that one person's going to buy a house and the other person's going to buy a house, but they still generally have to qualify with each other's debts, and it can get a little hairy. If you find yourself in this position, it's best to file for a divorce or for a legal separation. And if you can do what's called a consent decree, which means that you could settled all of the terms, it's much easier for you to finance, and then you don't have to wait till it's finalized. All right. All questions you didn't ask, but information I felt like you should know.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to take the next question?
Yeah, it looks like it's from Chauncey. Oh, nope. Element something. So it says, I'm in Phoenix. I first got pre-approved at the end of March and haven't been able to find a house yet. What do you need to do to extend my approval?
So generally speaking, they'll want to repull credit. Credit stays good for about 120 days, 90 days of shopping, and 30 days to close your loan. So an updated credit report will typically be requested, and then updated financials. So most recent 30 days of paycheck stubs, updated bank statements. But other than that, it's fairly simple and fast to just reapprove you.
Right. Perfect.
Okay.
Chauncey Peters. Thanks. I'm giving my LO a call in this loan officer a call in this morning. I'm definitely more than 60 days out, but tracking everything closely and keeping all my financials orderly.
Good. That is super awesome. One other thing I can recommend to you guys is whenever I'm in a home loan situation and I have refinanced and purchased properties, I always set a folder on my desktop and then save all the PDF versions of my W-2s and bank statements and paycheck stubs. Inevitably, people request the information, and because there's so many people involved in a transaction, you may have to like resend something, or you just need a quick place to just keep adding things when people request them. It's a really great way to be like super proactive and just, be fast with your requests.
Awesome. Right. JDD is saying, that's a good question. If my wife is a stay-at-home mom and has not worked in 3 years, is it worth her being on the paperwork?
So yes, in some cases. So conventional loans give you better pricing for mortgage insurance if there are multiple people on the home loan. And sometimes you want that spouse to be on credit so that it also improves their credit, keeps their credit active, and doesn't put all of the burden on future financing under you. So, I mean, there definitely are some benefits. Some of the cons with adding a non-purchasing spouse that doesn't bring in income is your debt to income ratio is often higher because you have to include their debts. But I mean, it's something to definitely look at both ways. Like, what would I qualify with? What would I qualify without? And then just making sure that your spouse is comfortable with that. We do often see, awkward relationships between spouses where somebody's like maybe not as trusting as the other person. And so like sometimes it's not really up to us, right? Like it might get worse financing to make somebody comfortable with being on that loan.
Perfect. All right, next question is from Carlos. What's the average cost of a single premium PMI payoff with a credit score of 780 plus?
Oh my God, such a loaded question, and it really depends on the loan amount, your debt to income ratio, how many borrowers, property type, occupancy. So I will tell you that it's somewhere between 1% and 3%. That's I know, lame answer, but it's as best as I can do, right? Okay. So guys, I had some additional questions that came to me directly, and I printed them out and then left them on the printer. So I am going to have to look at my phone while I do this, and I did want to answer them. A lot of them are pertaining to credit because I just shot that credit information video. So if you guys want to improve your credit score, learn more about your FICO score, learn the difference between FICOs and Vantage scores, that's a video you definitely want to check out. All right, so this is from It's Me Ruby. It says, I was looking through your catalog but didn't see a video devoted to this topic and want your advice. Someone who is a current homeowner in a home that appreciated in value much quicker than the average rate and is now considering to sell to capitalize on this very unique time period. A lot of homeowners are faced with this dilemma. Should we sell now, move in with our parents, and wait for the markets to dip? Does it make sense for us to get back in, meanwhile pocketing the profit, or otherwise we would have had to wait 10 years to realize? Will that ever happen, or should we just stay in our homes? So this is like the ageless question. So, I mean, it's really, really difficult to time the market. I always tell people real estate is a long-term investment, typically 10 to 20 years. And if you own your home for 20 years, the data says that your house will actually double in value, right? And so it's the same with like the stock market. There's periods where like everyone wished that they sold, but we only look back because we're anticipating, the market, ebbing and flowing. And over the long hauls when we really realize those gains. But you have to ask yourself, why did you buy this property in the first place? We all have to live somewhere. Not everyone has the benefit of living with their parents. And what kind of tax penalty will you pay, right, to sell and capitalize now? So something to look into are capital gains. One thing that I'm getting asked a lot about, and I've actually am working on a video about this, is, using the home equity to do other things like invest in other investments like the stock market, cryptocurrency, if that's your thing, pay down debt, do home improvements, pay for student loans. And so I'm working on a video for that. And I think that there's some interesting reasons why you would cash out to do that. But if you're looking just to quickly cash out, you're going to be penalized with capital gains, number one. And then two, I mean, will that really be like more than what you would have earned if you kept in the house for the long time, for that 10 to 20 years that you're supposed to? And also, there is something to say that you are anticipating a market crash, and even like the smartest economists are saying, even if the market becomes more balanced, there's nothing to say that values will crash. Like, that comment is dependent on the market crashing and then just not appreciating at a slower pace. Okay, so it looks like we have some other questions that came in while I was on my rampage.
It's from Kyle Ring. Hey, Lizzie, I'm a new loan officer in the business.
Woo, you picked a fun time to get in.
And I'm wondering what your best advice is on how I differentiate myself in becoming more than just an application taker in the refi market.
Well, it all comes down to value, guys. You know, for me, when I started in 2008 during the recession. And by the way, guys, this advice applies to any industry. If you want to make more money, you have to figure out how to be an asset to people. So at the time, nobody wanted to touch a mortgage with a 10-foot pole. They hated real estate. Real estate is what bankrupted their parents, put them into foreclosure, you know, set them into bankruptcy. And so I had to really be an educator and provide value and figure out ways to help people either refinance, save their homes. You know, I looked at where the opportunities were to be had, because every market has, you know, somebody who can take advantage. In that case, it was investors, and it was first-time home buyers, and it was also people who could qualify for FHA financing. And FHA financing just wasn't as prevalent as it had been in the past. So I became somebody who educated people on government financing, credit, budgeting, how to restore. And I started hosting these seminars, going to auction homes, getting with the nonprofits. So you just have to figure out where is it that you can really provide value. I would really research the mortgage-backed securities market, understand how interest rates work, and then I would start figuring out who is going to send you the most deals, which is typically real estate agents and divorce attorneys, and really just, you know, figure out how to provide value for them, right? So that's my best advice. Also, check out the core coaching.
Also, to add to that, in my case as a realtor, you know, a good realtor, what makes a good realtor is somebody obviously who is personable, tenacious, and coachable. Maybe you can apply this to you as well, but always learning from others and, you know, being open to growing, obviously, you know? So getting a mentor just like Lizzie or like somebody else in the industry that can kind of guide you to getting to being that more broader and better lender, I think that goes a long way. So, yeah.
100%.
Let's see. Jen, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Diana, for me. What is the best part of being a real estate agent? What is the worst part? Ooh, I like that question. I will start with the worst part and then end it with the good part. So I would say the worst part is not being able to have the time to kind of take care of everybody. So I would probably say it's a lot of juggling, right? And it takes a lot of I said this before, like tenacity to really know how to juggle everything. And it can be overwhelming when...
What does your work-life balance look like?
Yes, it can be overwhelming with that because I tend to do a lot of, you know, take care of my business sort of thing, but then I'm lacking on other things sometimes. You know, it's like it's kind of hard sometimes because you really need to put yourself in your business and give it your all. So I'll probably say that's like the worst part, you know, work-life balance. And then also like the best part of being a realtor is working with people, getting somebody into a home. I know that's like the cliche answer to a realtor, right? But for me is really that fire and that adrenaline that I get with negotiating, like in my opinion. So really wanting to get somebody in the house, and I'm gonna get this offer and I'm gonna get it accepted, like having that fearless mentality and that I don't take no for an answer sort of thing gives me a lot of adrenaline, gets me excited to wake up every morning basically and deal with that. So yeah.
And no one asked me this, but like my favorite things and worst things about doing home loans is, one, it's a really stressful job and you have very little control, right? So I could do my job perfectly, but I have to deal with a title agent or a solar company or other agents and sellers that can dictate the transaction, or clients that maybe don't, everyone lives their life and doesn't always think about how it impacts qualifying. And so the job is very stressful just because I don't have enough control, right? But my favorite thing are the clients. Like, this live is one of the most favorite things that I do, answering people's questions, providing value. It's like, there's nothing else like it.
Agreed. Thank you. Okay, JD has another question. Says, hey, my sister is working. Is this a good time to trade for a bigger home? We know we can sell, but worried about the buying part.
If it makes sense for your budget and this was the time that you were going to be purchasing, absolutely. I think it makes sense to buy. Like, again, like I said, it is a long-term investment. And there is, all of everything that we're seeing right now is just super unprecedented, and we don't really have any good historical references other than the Great Recession, and they were completely different things. And we were worried about different things, right? Like, we had to super stimulate the economy, and now we're worried that it's overstimulated. So just really hard things to predict. And so if buying a home for her isn't a necessity and it's just something that she wants to do because she can, really look at the budget and make sure that makes sense. But it is historically low interest rates, guys. So one thing I do want to remind you is that if interest rates are to go up 0.5%, that will actually have a bigger impact to the overall purchasing power than the homes going down in value with higher interest rates. So just so you know, it's the most affordable right now in terms of monthly payment, but not necessarily out of cash outlay, right? Like how much you're putting in down, paying closing costs. And right, a buyer's market, guys, just so you guys know, is like 97% of list price with maybe some concessions. So it's not like dramatically far off aside from people paying appraisal gaps and paying their own closing costs. I actually think that people have more skin in the game, and so people are going to be less inclined to just dump it because of how much extra money they've had to pay. Back in the recession times when they could get 110 and 125% financing and they didn't have to put anything in, like, it didn't sting as much to just walk away. So I hope that answered your question. All right.
All right. Atner Guzman is asking, I was looking into new construction, but I am about to move from my full-time job, W-2, to a 12-month to perm job, W-2, not 1099. Would this impact getting a mortgage loan?
Absolutely. So whenever you go from stable employment to what they consider temp to hire, it can absolutely impact your ability to qualify. The only times where it doesn't is if this is the absolute only way that this employer hires and that they say that there's a strong probability of them hiring you on and that it's for a specific trade. So I know that there's certain companies like Boeing that always hire you on as a temp worker to hire, and you're an engineer and have many years of experience and et cetera, et cetera. That's a lot easier to do. But then if you are a nurse, right, you have same education, same kind of experience, except nurses have all kinds of different schedules and all kinds of different pay rates and shift differentials. And so depending on what industry you're in and how stable they consider your employment and your schedule to be and the likelihood of them hiring you on full time, it could create some challenges for you. And working with the wrong loan officer, so this is not a case for going for a better mortgage. Sorry to dog on them, but honestly, you want somebody super experienced who can help you navigate that.
Definitely. So let's see. Next question is from Carlos. So he's asking, how long does it take to get a real estate license in Arizona, and can you take the classes online? So yes, you can take the classes online, and it's 90 hours that you need to complete to get your license. So it really depends on how you structure your time and whatnot. I took it during the pandemic, so I had the time of the world. So, you can do it after work and whatnot, but it's 90 hours that you need to take to get your real estate license. It's worth it.
Yes, and one thing that I will tell you is that the stuff that you learn in real estate school and that you need to pass the test is basically state legislature laws, and it's not practical how you do real estate. So one other thing that I will mention to somebody who's thinking of getting into lending or to real estate is that in order to actually learn how to do the job, you're going to want to join a team.
Yes, I agreed. I started as a solo agent, and then I moved to the team, and the amount of education and the amount of help that I got with the team is is tremendous. So I would agree with that. Okay. Is it worth the investment to put solar panels on your roof?
Okay, guys. So, I hate this question because there's so many people who are like so for solar panels. They just cost so much money, guys. And if you think about like your cell phone, right? It's a piece of technology that we get rid of every 2 years. Think of the technology you've now just attached to your house for 30 years, right? It makes it more difficult for you to sell your home, just first and foremost. And I just like the monthly savings that you will have to pay to offset, you know, the cost of the solar panels very rarely like pays off, right? Most people end up leasing them. Very few people end up purchasing them. If you purchase them, it could add maybe $5,000 to $10,000 worth of extra value, depending on what the other homes are selling. But it is like a pool, right? Like you do not get the value out in terms of home appreciation that it costs you to buy it. So that's my long-winded question. Now I have lots of other clients that swear and love solar panels. You know, they love and in Arizona, I mean, that electricity bill could be a couple $100s, right? And so some people are paying a way less monthly. You know, I just don't like it from a standpoint of like, I would never just imagine myself keeping the same car for 30 years, you know? So there's that.
So we got a couple of compliments here. We got from Danielle, says that she loves your new pics.
I love Danielle. Thanks, girl.
Your channel banner and your YouTube, Lizzie. That's what she's saying.
Yay.
Awesome.
I updated everything so that everyone now knows I'm a brunette.
We also got another one. Looks like he said, love the way you said Guzman. Aw, thank you. We're Spanish speakers here, Mexicans. So we know how to pronounce the Guzman. Okay, awesome. So next one is from I Be Your Christ. How much should a lender charge for a 200K loan?
It depends, again, on your credit, on your occupancy, the property type. But generally speaking, lender fees are going to be somewhere between the ballpark of like $500 to $2,000. I don't think that that's outrageous for that amount. But the better your credit, if you're a primary occupant, the better your loan to value, meaning that you're putting more money down, the better your interest rate, the better your fees.
There you go. Abner, thank you. You're welcome. Let's see. Naresh, do you offer loan on mixed-use properties, and what are the rates?
So yes, we do. I honestly haven't priced one out in a while, so unfortunately I can't give you that answer. Sorry, but if you email me, I'll look it up for you. Willie Cab, hey, have you made one of my lives before? I always see your comments. But sorry, I got really excited. So just so you guys know, I like legitimately read all the comments, try to respond to all of you guys. And like, there's some of you that I feel like I know because I've seen you on like lives or seen you commenting on my videos. So it's like when you see someone you've met only on Facebook and you see them in real life and you're like, oh my God,
you're real.
That's how I feel about this. Sorry. So really excited.
Awesome. All right.
But let's go ahead and ask your question. What does clear to mean? Wait. Are you asking like clear to close? What does that mean? Generally, that means that you're clear. So we've cleared all of the conditions for your home loan and you've received a final loan approval and that we can order loan docs for your home loan.
Oh, he just got a clear to close. That's what he's saying.
Woo!
Congrats.
Yay! That's awesome, honey.
Let's see. Chris. Okay, he's asking, what does add value to a home? Windows, kitchen, flooring?
So you have to imagine, guys, that a home in good condition, right? Like good roof, good flooring, good windows, right? And you have it compared to another home that maybe has upgraded flooring, roof, and windows. There's going to be small adjustments for that because the basic of value is like, does this help me sell my house for more money? And is there other properties in the neighborhood that would justify, a newer roof selling for X number of dollars more? So you can get condition improvements, right, for newer types of things that are expected to be in working condition on a property, like windows, your roof, your flooring. But things that are really going to have an impact are square footage, right? If you're adding square footage, that makes a huge impact. Updated finishes, right, that are nicer than what's available in your marketplace, but then not overly improved. Pools do add some value, but they're not dollar for dollar. So like a pool will cost you $30,000 and you may get somewhere between $5,000 to $15,000. Okay. So like that's the big range there. Landscaping can add value. Additional car garages can add value. Let's see here. So like, solar panels, if you own them, can add value. What are you really seeing that adds value in this marketplace?
I would probably say, and it's kind of funny, but if you go into a property that smells good, the walls are clean, and there's not a lot of clutters, that automatically just gives the buyer, it's more attractive to a buyer. So
so that's what'll get your home sold for more, guys, which is really, so she answered from what's going to net you the highest price. I answered from what is an appraiser going to go with, and this is exactly why you have to get multiple opinions. Right, because we just read the same question and thought completely different things.
Right. Let's see. Carlos, I'm doing a new build, and the estimate completion date is anywhere from November 2021 to February 2022. With interest rates possibly going up, what's the best way to lock in the interest rate early?
So the thing is that some lenders and some builders will allow you to lock in 9 months ahead of time. But the thing is, it's very, very costly, and you don't know where the market is going to be. And you also don't know if your house is actually going to be finished in that time frame. I think that you're best to just stay in contact with your loan officer at least weekly, and then pay attention to the news like I just said. And then when you get into like a 90-day period, look at it. I would say the next 2 months are going to be really, really indicative of whether or not we see tapering, especially at the end of September. I think we'll really know. And those like beginning weeks, when every time you hear that the Fed is talking, you want to pay attention to that. But I do think that it's probably like too far out for you to lock in to be able to know like how long or when. I mean, we have lots of clients, and you can probably attest to this, where their closing dates are getting moved out like 6 to 9 months, and they were already extended 6 to 9 months, right? Because it's just too expensive for the builder to even break ground.
Okay. Chris, thank you. Maybe one more question. What is the downside of waiving my appraisal if I am trying to buy?
Now, you can ask more than just one question, guys, P.S.
Yeah.
Okay, so the downside of waiving your appraisal contingency is that you're obligated to pay the difference if the property does not appraise. That's the big thing. And so sometimes you will want, I would always recommend putting a limit on it, but also putting a limit on it also impacts how attractive your offer is, right? So that's definitely, the downside of it. But I will say this, if you are waiving your appraisal contingency and you do want to set a cap on how much you're willing to pay over, having proof of funds is something that will set your offer apart.
Yes. So to add to that, so obviously waiving it out, you have that chance of if it appraises, let's say, example, $300K and it appraises at $280. That means you're going to have to come up with $20,000, right? So if you only have, you have to figure out your finances first. Let's say you only have $10,000 on your bank account, then I would suggest doing a $10,000 gap. So there's a difference between waiving the appraisal and putting on the gap. So
yes, but essentially you are saying, when we're saying waiving the appraisal, you are saying that if it did come in low, and it was more like $10,000, right, that you're moving forward with it, right? Hey, Cornell, glad you're on here too, by the way. Don't know why I wave. I'm so weird. I'm the biggest dork.
Willie Cab is so good. He's so nice.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad that the channel has brought you lots of value, and God bless you too, hon. And then also, Ivan, this is actually not Sammy. I know, she's another blonde. Apparently that's all I hang out with. But this is Diana, and she is a local real estate agent here with me. We work side by side in Phoenix, and so I asked her to come along because Sammy couldn't be here today. All right, so I'm going to answer another one of these questions, guys. So hold on one sec. Okay, so this is actually what happens after the CARES Act expires. So I think that this question is in relation to what happens with the forbearances. We just got a bunch of updated numbers from Black Knight that shows that the number of delinquencies for late mortgages, anybody who's late more than 90 days, has gone down, and we're close to pre-COVID times. And so it's just going to keep going down and keep going down. More people are back to work. The jobs report was good today. And so, I mean, I cannot see them extending this into 2022. I think it will end at the end of 2021. And so people will have to, start making their mortgage payments, or they're going to have to sell their properties. I do not think that there is a wave of foreclosures headed for us. And if there are distressed property owners, they will quickly be met with the demand of people who haven't been able to purchase. Like, there's a lot of people on this live who have not been able to purchase.
Right.
Okay. I am so sorry if you sent me a bunch of questions. We've actually had such good participation today that I have not been reading them, so I apologize. So if I don't get to these, I will email you or message you back.
Awesome. All right, Eddie's question. Hello, love all the videos and info you provide.
Thank you.
How do I get rid of my FHA loan? I bought a 455K property last October, and my house has appreciated through roughly 500K. Thank you both.
Wait, your house has appreciated $500,000 in 1 year? Whew, that's
to 500. So
oh,
5K
okay.
more.
No, it's okay. So it's 45K more. Sorry, I misread that. So essentially what you're going to want to do is just contact a loan officer. Unfortunately, for an FHA loan, you will have to refinance out of it in order to remove the mortgage insurance. So you will want to look into that and then just see if it makes sense for you.
LB Alexander. Hi, ladies. I'm buying and willing to pay $20K for foundation repairs and appraisals if they come in low. Is it fair to say I'm paying enough for the repairs? When does it become a sinkhole? LOL.
So it really just depends on what other properties that are in better condition or in livable condition are selling for in your neighborhood. So oftentimes when you're buying a property that needs significant repairs, especially when there's foundational repairs, typically they are selling for under market, even in this market. Okay, so you'll really want to look at the appraisal, and then what you will want to see is because I'm sure that they're going to call out the foundation issues or call out like some of the under improvements, and you'll be able to check like what other homes in your area that are similar to yours that don't have foundation issues are selling for. And I mean, if you find that you're already like, more than I would say 10 to 20% underwater, then I think you're probably overpaying. But if you're like somewhere between 10% underwater with what you're paying, I think there's a good chance that once you improve that property, you'll make up all of your equity. But I think there's a good chance, I'm not obviously on that transaction, so I have no idea, but I think there's a good chance that you might have already entered into the market under value.
Perfect. Okay, Manny. Hi, Lizzie. Thanks to you and your team, we were able to get our keys this past week. Aw. Thanks to Patrick, Courtney, and Veronica. They made the whole process bearable. Nice.
Yay, Manny. Oh my God, I'm going to share that with the team. Let me tell you guys, I love it when you get on, and I love that you're still joining in for a live, and congratulations, Manny. Can everyone give Manny a big congratulations? It would mean the world to me. It's so awesome to like get your keys for your first house, and it would mean the world to me. So congratulations, and thank you for using our team to help you. Yay. Okay. Thanks, Danielle. I love you for always like just jumping in. Okay. So let me go to the next question on here. Okay, so this question is about APR, and it says, regarding the mortgage interest rate, I'm trying to figure out the effective rate of interest that I'm paying. So I get this question all the time, guys, which is why I've made 2 different videos on APR. So your interest rate is different than your annual percentage rate. So the interest rate that's on your loan disclosures is the rate that you pay interest at for your loan balance. That's your effective interest rate. That's the rate that controls your monthly payment. The APR, guys, is only the interest rate with fees, right? So it's all of the cost of your home loan for 30 years expressed as an annual interest rate. So they basically, so this is like a rough explanation of how they calculate this. They do your loan amount plus all of your fees, right? And then they break it out into like 30-year costs, right? And so actually it's your loan amount minus your fees and then amortized over 30 years is how they come up with the APR. And the APR is not set in stone. If you apply additional money towards your principal, right, that APR comes down, right? So it's just like the worst case scenario for the maximum amount that you will pay for that 30-year fixed or 15-year fixed mortgage. So effective rate is the interest that you pay for the loan. Okay, did that make any sense?
So people are congratulating Manny. So nice.
Yay! Yay, yay, yay. I love you guys are so supportive.
All right, Abner is asking another question. It says, what other benefits, if any, do FHA offer other than being able to put down 3.5% and a slightly lower rate?
So if you have a 680 or lower in terms of a credit score, FHA is going to be the cheapest way for you to buy a house. It has the lower interest rate and significantly lower mortgage insurance, even though you pay an upfront and a monthly premium. Also, FHA is way more flexible in terms of qualifying. So people with, credit blemishes or, not that, I'm trying to say this without insulting people. Sorry, this is always what trips me up. But let's say you don't have really deep credit or you haven't diversified your credit, or let's say you've had a lot of collections. If there's any credit issues, right, FHA is going to be a lot more flexible. It allows for higher debt to income ratios. And it's just an easier loan to qualify for. It also allows for manual underwrites, which means that an underwriter can determine your creditworthiness. And so those, I think, are all the benefits. Not to mention in this market, FHA loans pay what's called a higher yield spread. So for every rate, there's a cost or a credit. If let's say you needed to maximize your purchasing power in this market, you can actually request to bump up your interest rate, cover your closing costs, and have that much more additional funds to pay for an appraisal gap or a bid over asking.
Perfect. Jen is asking, my bro has been wanting to buy a second home to rent out. The Supreme Court has ruled to not evict tenants during this time. I feel nervous that this is something that could continue in the future.
Well, a second home, guys, is typically a vacation home. And so one thing I will want to clear up, because a lot of people buy secondary residences, a secondary residence for the purpose of a mortgage is somewhere that you'll vacation and you will not have a long-term renter. So like maybe you Airbnb it a couple weekends, that's fine, but you essentially cannot have a long-term renter. So it shouldn't have an impact on you unless you live in a place like California, which has like crazy squatter rights. So sorry for all of you that live in California. Like that law legit does not make sense to me. Second, I will say that, that's the rolling of the dice that investors take whenever they purchase a property, which is why it's so important for you to vet your tenants. Pull their credit, check their employment, check their payment history. How did they perform on previous leases? I mean, I bought an investment property during this and I haven't had a single problem with that, but also I'm kind of strict on my guidelines for what I would accept.
Awesome. All right, LB Alexander. When you taught us about the impact of paying an extra mortgage payment in the first month, cost me to look close to amortization and will pay my home off so much faster. Thanks.
I'm so glad that you learned that, because for me it was something that, I didn't learn about finances, growing up. My parents didn't really talk to me about budget, and my dad was definitely the person that was like, oh, just put it on credit or I'll pay you back with interest. And so I had no idea how much more expensive things are when you pay them for the full length of their amortization. And also, I think in the lending and real estate industry, we push a lot about buying points down and buying your interest rate down. And no one really ever talks about what it would actually benefit you to pay less years on your term. That is way, way, way more effective in just saving you overall funds than buying down your interest rate would ever be. So for those of you who are just tuning in today, what I'm asking you to do is to check what it would be if you made one additional payment at the very, very beginning of your mortgage term, right, to the principal balance. How many years would you save? And that's a question for your loan officer, but ask them the question, especially if you're going to pay points. It's way better, I think, to pay an additional principal payment right at the get-go, and then if you can, one additional every year.
It's a great tip.
All right. So let's go back to the emailed questions. As someone who's bought and sold a home in the last couple of months, I received lots of offers, but no appraisal gaps. Where are people offering way over asking in this market? Okay, so here's the thing. So it depends on what your asking price is, and I do want you to elaborate on this, because not every single home is going to get a bid over asking or an appraisal gap, especially if what you're offering is like, or you're asking is way out of line. Like I had a transaction, you guys, I had a transaction literally canceled 2 weeks ago where the person there were no comps, like literally no comps available to support this purchase price. We went in, we did not waive our appraisal contingency. We said, hey, this looks like it's not gonna appraise. They're like, okay, we'll negotiate it. Randomly, we get an appraiser to appraise it at value, and this happens. But every single appraisal, guys, gets a score between 1 and 5, 5 being the most risk for being overvalued, and 1 being the lowest risk, meaning that's good. Because as the bank, we're not just trying to sell you a home loan. We're trying to protect our interests. In fact, we have more skin in the game than anyone in the transaction. So we're not trying to sell you an overappraised property. I promise you that. So anyway, so the appraisal gets a terrible score, and I have to call everyone and say, hey, we're going to need a second appraisal. It's calling out for it. The second appraisal comes in $40,000 under asking. Now, this seller is completely unreasonable. He said he's going to negotiate. He literally tells me to shut up 3 times and then tells me we can just go cancel. Just so you know, that home is still on the market. They had a really awesome offer, and I doubt that it sells for like anything close to what their asking price is. And that is in this market where it's super aggressive in Phoenix that leads the nation in like values and bids. Right? So not every single person is just going to get that because that's what's happening. It has to be within reason.
Yes. Don't get scared with what, everybody's talking about and what's actually happening and whatnot, because you are going to find those properties that you don't have to pay an appraisal gap for. I actually got an offer accepted this week that we offered 20K below asking, and it got accepted, right? I don't want to offend any sellers out there, but sometimes, yes, like Lizy said, some people overprice their properties. Maybe they're flips and whatnot, and they're like the most valuable property in the whole neighborhood or something like that. So, it does happen where properties are not receiving that appraisal gap.
Yeah, and you just have to know that, like, if you're already asking for the sun, moon, and stars, like, that is it. That's literally what it probably would have ended up at, right, if there were all this bidding wars, right?
Right.
Okay, so we got a super chat from Darren. Thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate you. He's asking, I purchased an as-is home. I spent weeks renovating, and the home has new floors, fresh paint, and updated kitchen and bath. Finally moved in, and just want to say thanks for all the lives and videos. Darren, I am so pumped for you. Also, you didn't ask this, but if you bought with like less than, on a conventional loan, with less than 20% down, and you've made all of these improvements and you have the receipts for them, I would contact your current lender and let them know that you would like to request to remove your mortgage insurance, because I imagine that all of those things have added quite a bit of value. And so it's definitely something for you to check into, because you might actually get rid of your mortgage insurance faster than you thought. And thank you so much for the super chat. Yay, Darren. I'm like such a dork, but you guys, I have 3 kids, and sometimes I forget my mom voice. It's like, yay! And I'm currently like trying to potty train my son right now, so it's like super fun. So I think I'm just in this like clap mode.
Thanks, Darren. All right. Do we have another one? Or
we do have one more question from here, and then guys, if you have any last minute questions, we're going to be wrapping up the Q&A. All right, so let's see. Lizy, I wish I learned this stuff in high school. What's the best way to start building credit? Is a secured credit card the way to go? If you are new to credit, guys, or you've had some credit blemishes in the past, a secured credit card is definitely the fastest way to start establishing new credit and build a better credit history. So there's really great ones, guys. Capital One has a lot of them. I typically recommend that one because I know for sure they accept secured credit cards and they report to credit. And if you maintain on-time credit payment history for 6 months, it'll definitely improve your score. But remember to pay, keep your limit, your balance, 30% of whatever the limit is. So,
Great.
alrighty, guys. So if there aren't any other questions, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this live up. You guys are amazing. We so appreciate you. Tune into my video about the Fed that's coming out this week, and then next week about refis. I appreciate your support. There won't be a live next week because I am going on a family vacation, but definitely keep sending in your questions. Keep supporting the channel, guys, and I appreciate you so, so, so much.
Thank you, guys.